Hello everyone, it's time for a new video, and this one is going to start a new video series which is going to be a newbie's guide to all kinds of bookish things. I just really want to film videos for people who are kind of like new to reading, or not necessarily new but still haven't discovered everything the book world has to offer, and today it's going to be a guide to adult romance. I have a ton of incredible authors to share with you. I'm going to mention the authors especially, and then like a few of their books. I haven't read all of the books from all these authors, but I feel like I know all of them at least a little bit, so I can share them with you, and I really adore all these authors and I really want to share their books. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. First author that I want to mention is Elissa Cole. She is a Black author who writes absolutely amazing royal romances, and I absolutely fell in love with her books. Last summer I just basically read the whole Reluctant Royal series like in a row, and I was just in love with them. One of the reasons why I'm starting with her is I feel like she is an amazing place to start if you're getting into the genre, and I just love her characters and the couples and her writing and everything. In case you don't really know how like adult romance works, there are obviously many different subgenres. Like there's historical romance, there's like royal romances, then there's like the more like, I don't know what it's called, like just normal, it's like normal people romances, and just so many different kinds. And again, if you want me to do some kind of a guide like that, tell me in the comments down below. But this is a royal romance, so every single one of these books follows someone who is some kind of a royal, and the books are just so fun, and I just love them, and I feel like it's a great place to start because they are steamy and stuff, so like it is definitely different from young adult and things like that. But it's nothing super intense, nothing super crazy and everything, so it's pretty chill and just really fun, and I really recommend it. So when it comes to the actual books, the first book in the Reluctant Royal series is called A Princess in Theory, and I don't think I'm gonna go fully in depth with all of the books because I have a lot of authors to talk about and this video would be super long. But another thing that I actually want to start doing, a part of this video series, is like a guide to authors, as in like one author, and actually go through all the books by that author. So if you want me to do that, and even if you want me to do that for like any of the authors that I mentioned in this video, I would love to do that. And I'm gonna have all the books linked down below in the description box so that, you know, if you want to look through the books in more details and everything, it's right there. My favorite in this series is probably A Prince on Paper, because this one has kind of like the trope of the like playboy, flirty guy and the like inexperienced girl, but I felt like it was done so well. It wasn't problematic, it wasn't weird, it was just like so amazing, and I loved it, and it was just so much fun, and oh my god, talking about it now, I honestly want to reread these books because they are just lighthearted and incredible. The heroines are just like so strong and so fun, and like strong in many different ways. And like in this book, the main female character, she is kind of more shy. She's not really used to being around people, and I just adore her. And I feel like all the women in this series are really different, and all of them are loved for who they are, and all the guys are really amazing as well. You know, sweet, passionate, everything, yes. And just like a disclaimer that should be obvious, but like, you know, all the authors that I'm recommending are ones that write amazing, not problematic books where, you know, they're consensual and not like problematic, not hurtful in any way, and I just love them. So yes. Also, just quickly want to mention, Elissa Cole also wrote historical romance, which I haven't really read by her just yet, but one of the ones that I read was Let Us Dream, which is set in 1917. It follows a relationship between a Black woman and an Indian Muslim guy, and it's set in New York, I think, and it's just a lot about, like, you know, the election for women to vote, but at the same time, it's just like It's amazing. It's a really important book that's like fun but still deals with some issues, and so if that sounds good to you, then you know that's just a quick recommendation. Also, it's like 160 pages maybe. It's a novella, so it's perfect if you just want something quick to read. And yes, the next author that I want to recommend is my queen. I love her so much. She really made me absolutely fall in love with the adult romance genre, and like I have not read all of her books yet, but I love her, and she's definitely an author that I want to do the like author guide for, and that is Talia Hibbert. She is just wonderful. I adore her characters. I adore the couples. Like, I know that's the case for every single author that I mentioned in this video, so I'm just gonna kind of like repeat myself. I'm sorry about that. But Talia just, oh my god, like her romances are just so sweet and passionate and amazing, and the two characters always care about each other so much, and they are often different, but they figure out their differences and they come together, and a lot of the time both of the characters have, you know, like their own struggles that they're dealing with, and I feel like the love interest obviously never solves the issues, but they just like help each other figure everything out, and they get through everything together, and I just love it. I love her writing. The books just always make me feel amazing. They're fun, but also, again, kind of deal with some heavier issues sometimes, which I feel like is like the best combination ever, and they are really steamy, and I love it. And these ones, her books are definitely really steamy and definitely much more than Elissa Cole, so you know, just so you know. And I just love it. I love everything about her books, and please, I'm begging you, if you read books by one author in this video, please read a Talia Hibbert book, because she's definitely my favorite. Like, I love all of these authors, but she's my #1 favorite, and since she's my favorite, I just want to go through a few of her books, and the one that is probably my #1 favorite, and the only one, sadly, that I have a physical copy of, is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and oh my god. So this book follows a chronically ill heroine who has kind of like a near-death experience at the beginning of the book, and she kind of wants to turn her life around, and so she creates a list of things that she wants to do to get a life. And basically she ends up asking the love interest to help her with it, and things go on from there, and the hero is just so sweet and supportive and wonderful and such a cinnamon roll, and he's also a painter, and like, oh my god. Oh my god. And the heroine is also really sassy, and just, I loved them together. Like, oh my god, they are definitely one of my all-time favorite couples, and just this book was so much fun, but again, dealt with some like important things, and I adored it. And kind of like, again, if you read just one book from this video, please, I'm begging you to read this. I love this book, and again, I need to like reread this. So maybe my second favorite is Work For It. And this one is a male-male romance with two very grumpy guys who, you know, come together, and it's set in a small town, and both of them deal with some mental health issues as well. So again, I think they deal with anxiety and depression, and so that just kind of like adds so much depth to it, and it just is important, and I felt like the representation was absolutely amazing, and they just worked so well together. Like, they had a lot of differences to overcome. It's a little bit hate to love. They are really grumpy and like annoyed at each other, but they obviously immediately like, they just, I love it. I love it so much, and like, please, I'm begging you, read this. It's incredible, and like, I just love when characters in a romance like struggle with something and they kind of figure it out on their own, but also kind of together, and they have differences but they overcome them, and they just, it's steamy, it's passionate, but it's also so much deeper than that, and I just love it. And oh my god, I again need to read it again. Please read this, I'm begging you. And then Um, one other favorite of hers that I read this year is gonna sound ridiculous because it kind of is, but I just loved it so much and I had to share it. And it's called Mating the Huntress. And it's this book is hilarious, and it's a novella. I think it's under 200 pages, I'm pretty sure, and it's like a paranormal romance, very different from what she normally writes, and I'm so happy I ran into it because it was just so much fun. Like, I know the cover looks super weird and the title is super weird and it's just like, what the fuck is this? But like, it's just so much fun. The book doesn't take itself seriously at all, and it's kind of about like, it's a romance between a werewolf and like a girl who is from like a werewolf hunter's family, and the guy is like, we are mates, as in meant to be together. And so he kind of goes to the coffee shop where she works, and yes, he is kind of like obsessive and he's not like a stalker, but he does go to her coffee shop and things like that. So it sounds like it might be problematic, but I felt like it really was not at all, because he never did anything non-consensual, he never did anything bad. He was just kind of weird because he's a werewolf, he's not actually used to being around people, he's not a human, and so he doesn't fully know how to function as a human, but at the same time he never does anything wrong, if that makes sense. And it's just a super fun book. It's honestly just ridiculous, and I feel like it was definitely intentional. Like, it's just fun. It's meant to be fun. It's definitely not super focused on any of the like supernatural things, so if you expect that, like, don't. It's mostly just a super fun, really steamy, really just incredibly fun romance. I just like laughed so many times reading this, and it just gave me such a wonderful feeling, and I had to share it with you, because if you just feel like shit right now, if you are just feeling sad or just not great, this book is just definitely gonna lift your spirits because it's so much fun. Yes. The next author that I want to mention is Elissa Cole. I have not read that many books by her. I have only read 2 actually, so yes, but I fell in love immediately. And the first book that I read by her is her newest book actually, and that is The Right Swipe, which is a romance between a CEO of a dating app and this dude who I'm not sure what he does exactly, but they kind of like hooked up, and they had a really fun time. They felt a connection and everything, and then he ghosted her, and later on, a few months later, they run into each other again, and things go on from there. And the main character is just wonderful, and she dealt with some really shitty things. Like, her last relationship was abusive, and so that's again a part of the book, so it deals with some heavier issues as well, but the romance was just incredible. Again, steamy, amazing. I feel like it's quite similar to Talia Hibbert, and I adore it. Loved the characters, loved everything about it. I flew through it. I was literally on a trip, and I was just like reading it whenever I had the chance, and I read it in like 2 days because it gripped me, and like I just couldn't stop reading. And yes. And the other book that I read was Hate to Want You, which is the first book in I forgot the name, but it's a first book in like a trilogy series. Which also, one thing that I quickly want to mention, most of these authors write like adult romance series, but the way these work is that they are kind of standalone series, so there are small connections between them. So usually, you know, like the second book follows like maybe a friend from the first book, or like a sibling or something, so like you see the characters in the other books, but it's never anything that you couldn't miss. So you can read them on their own. I usually like to read all of them because a lot of the time it's series that I know that I will want to read like all the books from eventually, so I'm like, I might as well start at the beginning, you know, but it's not something you have to do. You can read them however you want, so just putting that out there. This book follows this couple who used to be childhood sweethearts, and they were together, you know, in high school and stuff, and then this big thing happened with their families, and they kind of couldn't be together anymore, and At some point, they started meeting once a year, never during the year, like never any other time. And now, you know, they ran into each other again, and so they are around each other. I don't remember exactly why and how, but it's absolutely clear that they care about each other, and they haven't been in a relationship for so long, but like it's clear that they have a bond and they just feel like their families are in the way. And this wasn't my absolute favorite, but I still really, really liked it, and I definitely want to read the remaining books in this series, and so I really, really, really recommend Alicia Rye. And also this book dealt with some mental health issues as well, and again, I felt like it was done well, so yes. Then I want to recommend Roan Parrish. She's another one of the authors who I kind of like started with. I love her writing and her characters so much. She's probably another author that I would like to do like the guide for, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but the book that I want to show you is again the only book I have a physical copy of, and that is Small Change. I read this I think even in back like 2018 or something, so a while ago, and it was maybe even like the first or one of the first for sure adult romance books that I read, and I adored it. It follows a tattoo artist, Ginger, who is queer. I think she identifies as queer. She has her own like tattoo shop, and she's tough and independent, and she runs into Christopher, who owns a sandwich shop, and he's super kind and sweet, and so they hit it off. But Ginger is kind of like feels hesitant to be in a relationship. It's not something that not like that she doesn't want it, but you know, she's kind of guarded and closed off a little bit, and I just loved this. It is steamy, but I would say it's not like super steamy. And I just loved the dynamic between them. Again, like I just adore it, and it's not even that long. It's 230 pages, so I really recommend it if you just again want something short, super fun with amazing characters. Love this. She also has some mainly romance books out, so I want to mention two of them as well, and that is Invitation to the Blues and the remaking of Corbin Whale. Both of these, I think, Invitation to the Blues has a main character who deals with severe depression, and so that's a big part of the book, and so the book is definitely, like, it's light and fun and steamy, but it definitely is much more hard-hitting and heavier because he has severe depression, and I felt like it was done really well, and I just loved it. I loved the relationship and the support they had, and I listened to the audiobook for this, so if you are someone who likes audiobooks, I really recommended the audiobook as well. I thought it was great, and I just love this book. And then the remaking of Corbin Whale is another male romance that is set in a small town, and now I'm not entirely sure if one of them has depression, but it kind of has a similar vibe, but it kind of feels more wintry as well. I don't really know how to describe it, but one of the characters works at a bakery, so it kind of has that cozy feeling as well, and I adored their relationship as well. I feel like, yes, like, the relationships are like steamy and stuff, but at the same time they're really like romantic, and they have a deep connection, and they are super supportive of each other, and just it's amazing, incredible, and I really recommend it. The next author that I want to talk about is Chelsea M. Cameron. So Chelsea writes mostly female romance, and she is probably, like, she's not my absolute favorite author, but she's definitely an author that I wanted to mention, especially if you are looking for female adult romances. And the main books that I've read by her are Anyone But You, and then the Violet Hill novella series. So Anyone But You is a book that follows a yoga studio owner and a gym owner, and Tuesday, who's the gym owner, she becomes the landlord of the whole building where the yoga studio is as well, and they kind of had a bit of a hateful love relationship, and I didn't love the book, but it was quite fun, and again, it was steamy, and I felt like it was a little bit rushed. Like in the beginning it was kind of like slow burn, and then everything just suddenly happened at the same time, and I was just like, hang on. But it is not a bad book, and I enjoyed it, and I really liked the characters. So, and then the Violet Hill series has 3 novellas, so again, super short books that you can fly through. The first one is Second Kiss, which follows a lesbian and a queer character, and they used to be best friends, and then they kind of run into each other again, and they clearly have feelings, and it's really, really great, and really romantic and steamy as well, and I just really enjoyed it. The second one is Double Exposure, which has a pansexual main character and a trans bisexual main character. And this was probably my favorite. I just loved it. Both of them were just really understanding, and they also communicated a lot, which I thought was just absolutely wonderful, because, you know, they just were honest about everything and they put it out there, and I just really, really loved this one. And the last one is Second Chance, which has a demi-romantic, demisexual, bisexual main character. As the name suggests, it's a second chance romance. I think they like broke up and they run into each other again, and things happen and it's really fun. And yes, and last but not least, the last author I want to mention, this video is so long, holy shit, is Rebecca Witherspoon. So she has a lot of books out, but my favorites are Rafe and Xeni. Her books aren't fully for me, but they are really great, and so I wanted to recommend her to you anyway. Rafe is basically like a male nanny romance where the main character, I think she is like a surgeon something, so she, you know, has to work a lot, and so Rafe babysits her kids, and things go on from there, and I really liked it a lot. And yes, and Xeni follows like a friend of the main character in the Rafe, and this one has a marriage of convenience, and it's really fun. I'm sorry this video is infinitely long, but this is it. Finally, we made it to the end. Please again tell me in the comments down below if you want me to do a more thorough guide for each of the authors, or, you know, if you have any video requests. And that is gonna be it, finally. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe for more videos like this. Have a great day, and I'm gonna see you soon in another video. Bye!